To me about the wilderness. What is that?
Yeah. Okay. So in the framework that I follow, that I've kind of developed for this, it starts with a pull, where, okay, I feel pulled towards journaling, or I feel pulled towards making a podcast, or I feel pulled towards a better relationship with my wife, or being more honest with her and the people close to me. So that's the pull. Well, immediately when you start to follow that thing, you're going to hit the war, which is Stephen Pressfield stuff. It's fear, it's voices in your head, it's general resistance. So that's the war. Then comes the wilderness, which is the work you just have to do to make that thing happen. So if you, like you're saying, I want to be more open with my wife. Okay, you're going to hit a war. All right, what's the wilderness that you're going to walk through? Well, I put 4 parts into what I call the wilderness, and we work through these in the program. The first part is cleanup. So I don't know why I call it this, but it's there's an acronym called CLAP. So it's just like, I don't know, just change CLAP. C stands for cleanup. L stands for learn. A stands for action, and P stands for patience. So that is the work of the wilderness. So the cleanup part is, all right, I want to start moving in this direction of starting a podcast or writing a book or getting closer to my wife or whatever those things are. All right, what's standing in the way of that? What are some messes I need to clean up? In my case with my wife, it was that pornography addiction that I told you about. I needed to confess that. I needed to work through that with her. And once I did, it wasn't a problem anymore. I haven't looked at that stuff since I told her that back in 2010. But that was a mess I needed to clean up. And I needed to change some behaviors in my life to make sure that wasn't around anymore. So some people want to go and start their own business or whatever, but they have $100,000 in debt. Okay, we got to clean that mess up because you're just going to feel a ton more weight. So the wilderness is, what do I need to clean up? What do I need to confess? Then the L is learn. What do I need to learn? What new things do I need to learn? Who do I need to get around? I mean, you're doing that with this podcast. You have an interest in journaling. So you're like, okay, I'm going to learn what I need to learn. A lot of people don't. They're like, I want to just start this thing, but they don't go invest in the learning it's going to take to do that. And then the A is action. What action do I need to take to make this happen? Back to the example of you and your wife. All right, the action would be, I'm going to set up one night a week where we check in with each other and we use the feelings wheel or whatever for 30 minutes. Well, that's an action. So the first simplest action would be, well, I probably should talk to her about this first and say what my goal is here. And then lastly is the P, patience. We want things to happen fast, and that's just not how life works. You just got to be patient. So the things you want to grow take time. I heard something like where it takes 8 to 10 years for an apple seed to germinate, turn into a tree, 8 to 10 years before it can hold the weight of an apple. That's 8 to 10 years to just make some apples. And we're like, why isn't this working faster? Why isn't my podcast blown up? Why isn't my marriage perfect or whatever? Everything that's worth anything takes time. So that's the work of the wilderness. You got to clean up your messes. You got to learn new things. You got to take some action, and then you got to be patient. So that's the high level view of it.
What happens when we make it through the wilderness?
Ooh, good question. Peace, purpose in a lot of aspects of your life. Then you'll start a new one. So you get through the wilderness of one thing. So say your marriage, you want to get close to your wife. All right, we work through that. You spend a few years on it. You work on this podcast. You spend a few years on it. You're doing the work. Well, eventually you get to something, and there is some peace and purpose on that. But I believe you'll get another pull. Like, what's the next thing? And there's an ambitious way to look at that where you're like always looking for the next thing. Or there's the slowdown, I think, spiritual leadership part of it where you're like, all right, where do I need to focus my life next? Where do I feel pulled? Well, by that time, maybe you'll have kids. All right, well, I'm in the wilderness with my kids and I've got some things I need to clean up. I got some things I need to learn, places I need to take action, and places I need to have patience. So, if you think of the wheel of life, you've got your relationships, you've got your spiritual side, you've got your money, you've got your work. all of those things are going to have different pulls, different wildernesses, different wars going on. But the place to process all of that is what's missing. And so it just feels like a weight all the time. And until people start to set aside time to reflect and process on their lives, that's where you really start to be like, oh, here's where I want to go. All right, here's what we should do. So, yeah, good questions, man.
I mean, you have me hooked on journaling. It's for me as somebody who, as somebody who is traditionally like the brains for having ideas, not for holding them. I've been
Yeah.
using mine the inverse. Like I'm just like holding
Okay.
everything in,
Holding
like
them
holding
all.
thoughts, and
Yeah.
and I needed just a place to put everything and just to have that release and just free up my mind and let it do what it's intended to do. So
Yeah.
talk to
Let
me
me send you.
about.
I'm gonna send you a link to just come. Today's Wednesday, if you want. Come tomorrow and Friday to one of these live sessions that we do every morning, and it's just a Zoom call. I'll send you a link, and then you can try it out. And it just sets aside a half hour, and you just follow along, and it gives you a space to do that. So I'd love to have you do that and see what you think.
Yeah, please. I'd love to do that. What time are those?
7 to 7:35 a.m. Central.
Perfect. That works great for me. Yeah, I'm in. That takes me to my next question about, let's say somebody's listening to this, they go to your website, holywork.com. What can they expect for like onboarding and the process moving forward? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's great. Another great question. If you come in, I would suggest signing up for, I mean, you're welcome to jump right in. At the bottom, there's a charge per month to do this because I'm showing up every day. But if you sign up for the full thing, you'll get an email, you get a login, and all of a sudden you'll get Zoom links that you can show up to in the mornings, and you get prompts every day to guide you through this process. And, the power comes in just setting aside the time to do it. So the onboarding is really just show up for the sessions, and then I'll guide through everything else. You don't have to do any, you don't even have to turn your camera on. You don't have to turn your microphone on. It's really, I just want to set aside and get a bunch of people to set aside 30 to 35 minutes a day to think, to slow down, to realize that you don't have to sleepwalk through life. And I think it's John Dewey, a teacher from the 20s, I think. He said, we don't learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. So if we go through something, yeah, we went through that. That sucked. I don't want that to happen again. Or you can start to look back and be like, man, what did I learn from that? What meaning came from that? And that's the point. That's the thing I want people to do every day.